Hey guys, Philosopher here, and I actually have a very special episode today. This is a video where I'm going to be interviewing the two guys who created MSF.gg. And if you didn't see the news, MSF.gg was acquired by Scopely recently. This was a big announcement. And as soon as it happened, I reached out to Ty J and said, hey man, I got to get you on my channel. I want the community to find out more about this, to find out more about you guys. And I will tell you the reason why. I did that because Ty J and Toxie are actually one of us. They're members of the community who are going into Scopely. And so they have a really unique perspective here. And, you know, they've done a lot of work for the community. It's really like a community service what they've created. And so, first of all, just on behalf of the community, I want to thank you guys. It's a congratulations to both of you. It's a real success story. And what I think is got a lot of people in the community excited is that we have kind of people who are representatives of ourselves on the inside. So I'm going to ask you a lot of questions about this. I will let you guys know. I did an interview with Cerebro and I didn't provide him with the questions, and there was a lot. I still get comments and questions about that today. I did give these guys the questions in advance at their request, because this is not that kind of interview. Okay, this is more. I want you to get a sense of who these guys are and what the work they're doing is, because they're doing some interesting stuff. So if you stay and listen, I think you're going to learn some things about them, but also about the game. So can you guys start? I mean, first of all, anyone who doesn't know, MSF.gg is a pretty big resource. You know, what caused you to decide to create that? I mean, that's not something you just wake up one day and decide to do.
Sure, yeah. It started a long time ago, basically back at the very beginning of the launch of the game. I happened to be running the Discord and subreddit communities pretty early on, back when the game was in beta, and had become more and more involved in the community and found that there was basically a complete lack of information in terms of any kind of stuff that you would find within the game, be it the characters, the missions, or any kind of related information in that regard. So we set out, I believe it was in February of 2018. I was working with another person named Imperialist at the time. We set out and released the first version of MSF.gg, which was pretty bare bones. It had like your basic character listing and the character information of abilities, but it was missing pretty much the vast majority of the features of what people would see today.
Yeah, it was missing me.
Oh man! Of course, the best part. You know, one thing you mentioned, Toxie, that I didn't even say when I was introing you, man, is you do all this stuff. You do the Reddit as well, right? The subreddit for
Yep.
Yeah,
I've been running the subreddit and the social communities for about like 4 years now.
Yeah, and just so you guys get a sense, like, you know, one of my most popular videos is Path to Power. I did this new player's guide. I created that guide because you guys I think you, Toxie, said we need some new player content and to get it out there. And just to give you guys a sense, that's the sort of what I mean by kind of building the community. That's what these guys are, sort of creating the community that we have here for MSF that's above and beyond Scopely. We've created kind of a player community. One thing I'm curious about for both of you guys, and either of you can take this one, is before you joined Scopely, was MSF.gg your full-time job? Is that what you guys were doing all the time?
No, we both had jobs outside of MSF.gg, but I mean, as you can imagine, it was an undertaking doing all this stuff and keeping up with the community's requests and things like that. It almost became like a second part-time job. So a lot of times I joke, me joining, you know, the Scopely team was going from 2 jobs to 1 job now.
Yeah, no kidding. I got to tell you, for myself, I feel that way. I do all this content creation stuff on the side, and it's like, oh my God, it's like having another job. I can't imagine MSF.gg. There's got to be so much coding that went into that, because there's a bot that a lot of us use. If you go on Discord, you can use a bot to get counters and so forth. And then there's the website. It's just an enormous amount of work. Well, I got to say for myself, I was surprised when we got the news of the sale of MSF.GG to Scopely. I'm sure it was not a surprise to the two of you. There's a lot that went into that. Can you tell us a little bit about how that came about?
Well, we were surprised.
Yeah, no, we were surprised for sure. Yeah. We've been working closely with Cerebro ever since he became the community manager. He quickly became part of the Discord community, and ultimately we ended up passing over the ownership of the community from being community-based to being Scopely owned. And when we did that, Nick started getting a lot more involved in the community in that regard. So, sorry here.
Uh-oh. Did the game break?
Just got a message from work. I apologize. Getting a message from work. We were working with Nick for a while there, and ultimately they approached us in, I believe it was June of this past summer, and had just basically reached out and asked if we would be, number one, interested in the opportunity of becoming part of Scopely, and number two, they were more so interested in finding out what they could do with MSF.GG.
That's great. That's very cool. It's got to be so life changing to get a call like that, right? It really, in terms of what you.
Well, we would often meet with, well, not often, but every so often we'd meet with Cerebro or, somebody else, and I even joked with Toxie. I was like, "Uh-oh, what do they want now?" And then when Nick kind of let us in on, that they wanted to do this purchase and have us be part of the team, I didn't even know what to think at the time. Toxie got off that call and we had a side chat, and both were like, "What is going on?"
It's exciting.
Definitely caught us off guard. Our initial expectation was that we're going to be asked to maybe do an MSF.GG kind of style site for another game, but that was not what it was about.
Well, good thing for us, because losing you guys from our community would be a big blow. So what is, okay, now I gotta know, now you guys are insiders. What is your role at Scopely? What jobs do you have? What are you guys up to?
My official title is a senior engineer. It's what I was doing at my other job anyway. I was a senior engineer at my other job. So same title, different place.
Yeah, and my title is the lead web designer, and it's going to be working on the primary website as well as my continued responsibilities with MSF.GG.
Wow. You guys really were doing two jobs, because for me, my primary job is not talking on YouTube videos, but for you guys, your hobby on the side was essentially doing your job, but for something that you really enjoyed, which is pretty cool.
It was a complete labor of love for many years there, and several thousand hours of work and countless commits. So yeah, it was a lot. I guess you could call it a second job.
That's awesome. So now that you're on the inside, tell us what surprises you about it, because I'm sure it's different being on the inside, working at Scopely, having those conversations and so forth, versus being a player and just sort of part of the community.
Oh, well, first and foremost, how much they care. The entire team cares so much about this game in the community. I know that when mistakes are made, that it's also brushed aside sometimes, and the community can embrace that as them not having an attention to detail. But the reality is there is so much going on behind the scenes that it's very difficult to keep all the threads going together and keep everything harmonious. But they do an amazing job, and it's been eye-opening to see the amount of work which goes into every facet of the game.
So, I'm curious now. So for a while, we've been hearing that Scopely's working on something called an API. It's almost like this, feels like some sort of secret project. We've been hearing about it for years. I never see it because I'm not as connected to that as you. I've never seen anything really about it, any progress. So first of all, can you just tell us what is an API? Like, what is that even about? What does that even mean?
Yeah, so it's currently evolving, right? Because MSFGG actually is already using the API. Basically,
What?
it's doing.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm learning something.
Yeah, it's basically gives us a lot of input to like grab data directly from their API. That a lot things that you even use, Philosopher, like the stat table page, for example, that pulls all that data from the API.
Oh.
So we used to try to calculate that data. So I reverse engineered the formulas and tried to get as close as I could. But it wasn't until we got the API where we were able to say, hey, these are what the stats are. And so that's what that's doing currently.
Oh, that's really cool. I think your page still says it's sort of a rough calculation. That's really cool. I didn't even know that. So wait, so just for idiots, not idiots, but people like myself who are not tech savvy, what does even API mean? Like I couldn't tell you. So can you help people understand? Like I'm 5 years old.
Yeah, it actually means application programming interface, but Ty can explain what it is in much more better detail than I can.
Yeah, it's just basically when you hit our website fires off to Scopely and says, hey, give me all the characters. And then Scopely says, okay, here's all the characters. And then we take that data and show you all the characters on our page.
Right. It seems to me it seems to me like a way of getting data from the game while you're not in your phone or on a device, right?
Yep, correct. Yeah. And it comes straight from the source, right? We don't have to go and data mine anymore. We do a little bit because some of the format is not all done in the API, but for the most part, we don't have to do a ton of data mining anymore. We can get it right from the API.
To give you an idea of what a previous process would be before the API, whenever there was a game update, Tyson would have to physically install it on his phone, or excuse me, it would be a Android phone, which we had, that we would install it on. And then he would take all that data, pull it from the phone into his computer, then parse all that, and then look for all the differences within the data set, and then put all of that onto our website. So it was a really, really time-consuming process, and every single patch that got released, TyJ had to work for 8-12 hours just to get the data up there.
Wow. Yeah, this could make it a lot easier, as far as I could see, for all sorts of programs and all sorts of applications to come out of this. One thing I'm curious about is why is this, from your perspective, why is this important? How is this going to help the community to have this API out there at some point?
Well, eventually there's going to be a connection to your account in game. So you should be able to pull your rosters. You should be able to get alliance data, things like that, which is just going to help plan and especially for alliances, plan, how you're going to move forward in some of these challenges, and, yourself, what characters you want to upgrade, things like that. So
you won't even need to fire up your phone to look at your roster anymore in this future world. Well, that would be great. What about gear? Would I be able to see the gear I had, that sort of thing too?
Yeah, that's the goal.
Okay, that's pretty cool. I tell you, it's often can be a challenge to do that in game. This way you don't misclick and you can kind of see what you got. That makes a lot of sense.
You can also imagine too, like try to fit all this data on the phone is almost silly. It's just so, like, think of all the different items out there and be able to display that in game. I don't know if that technically really even makes sense, where on the web it really does make sense.
Wow. So maybe it could actually reduce the data load to our phone over time, potentially. Like it could kind of reside on the web or in the cloud.
It would still have to pull to your phone for you to know that data, but I see what you're trying to get at.
Wow. All right. Well, so are you guys working on this API project now while you're at Scopely?
Yeah. I actually just fixed my first bug today.
I could make a joke about it, but I won't.
That's all right.
So when can we expect to get an API for MSF that players can see something different So see something that's going to impact their lives.
I don't know if they have released any specific date yet. There was some work that was trying to be done before this most recent patch that needed to get done first. And so we're really going to be diving in after that. And I can assure you that our goal, that Scopely even supports this goal, is to get this data out to the users. So we're hoping that it comes soon.
So I will just tell you, right now you can't I'm going to let our viewers know here, you actually can get your roster into MSF.gg. There's two ways I know how to do it. One is there's a bot that you could use that you put screenshots from your phone into. It reads the screenshots, it reads the data, does actually a remarkably good job of getting the data off the screenshots, and then you can kind of import it into MSF.gg. There's also a program called Mantis. I've used both of these methods myself that you can use essentially like I'd run BlueStacks emulator, and you run Mantis on your PC, and it scans essentially and gets the data in. That's pretty complicated though for most people. Even for me, I don't do it anymore because it's time consuming. Can you explain those, kind of how that works now and how that'll be different, when there's when the API is, fully launched, let's just say, or gets into a different version?
Yeah, sure. So the one that you talked about with the screenshots, that's MSF Tools. And that one, you just, like you said, send it those screenshots and you'll get a little code. You take that code and you put it into MSF.gg, and it'll pull all the data that those screenshots set up for you and put it into your roster. And then, of course, the Mantis project will read right from BlueStacks itself. And I've created an endpoint for them, similar to how Scopely is making an API for us. I made an API for Mantis so that they could hit our database, insert data into our database for the users, for their rosters. And that pulls right from the game. Now, how that will be different is when we're able to use the API, in-game you'll receive a code, very similar to how we do it with Mantis. You'll receive a code, you enter that into the web, and when the web will go and grab the data for the code that's associated with your account.
So it won't be just like automatic. You'll have to at least do something.
You'll have to link it. It's really the only way to protect your account and things like that, is make sure that you are the person that is wanting this data.
Got it.
We'll have full control over the data visibility as well. Mm-hmm. That's a primary concern of ours too. We know that some people don't want full visibility to be shown. For instance, somebody seeing exactly when you did a raid during the day. I mean, that could be an issue for some. So there is going to be limitations if you have control as well. Wow,
that's interesting. So for example, we've got a new grand tournament mode that's coming. If I don't want my opponent to see what characters I have, if you're not a streamer like me, they could not know if I sort of make it invisible potentially, or at least on MSF.gg in that hypothetical.
Yeah.
Interesting. It's going to create some strategic choices. I could definitely see high-end alliances trying to hide, like you said, when they've done raids. Before a war, you don't want your people to see what upgrades you've made. That's very interesting. So, we talked about this grand tournament game mode. I mentioned that. I'm very excited about it. I've played another game where they have something called Grand Arena, which I think is probably very similar to this. So will MSF.gg provide content related to this new mode when it comes out?
The hope is yes. We are currently in the process of getting staging servers set up. So we basically can have our production environment from MSF.gg and our staging environment for MSF.gg. And the hopes is that we're going to have plenty of time to build out all these new features for the new game modes that come, number one, because we'll obviously have the advanced knowledge, and number two, we'll have the capability of actually having the staging server, which we don't have right now, and to take the time to build all those out. And so on patch day, hopefully we'll be able to just flip the switch and give access to those.
Wow.
We've always been reactive. We've never been able to put things out beforehand. Occasionally we'll get a map maybe, because it's in the data mine or something. But yeah, we've always had to react to new modes. So this will be a good change for everybody, even the community.
Yeah, I would
It's
say
been
so.
a big issue for us before, and now we're basically unburdened by that now that we get to focus on this primarily. So, yeah, it's going to be a big boon to be able to add those things to the site immediately.
Yeah, that's pretty cool because that, to me, what I see there is, like now you could be working in tandem with the team. I mean, this is a big advantage of this, of you guys being inside the tent, so to speak, is now you work with the team as opposed to like, oh, Scopely did this. Now we've got to spend months or weeks trying to create a feature that on the website to react to that. Yeah. Well, that's cool. I mean, because I'm very eager to see statistics about Grand Tournament and who my new opponent will be and all of that stuff. Will there be so at some point? It sounds like from what you were saying, we'll be able to actually look at other players' rosters on MSF.gg. Is that potentially in the works?
Well, to an extent, right? Because they will have to allow their roster to be public, right? So right now you can see your alliance mates rosters on MSFGG, but you can't see just anybody's roster unless they give you their URL or something like that. So
wow,
they'll have to make their rosters public.
Fog of War. As I said, I do think this is one of the more interesting things that I'm learning here. To give you an example, in another game, Star Wars Galaxy Heroes, everyone can see everyone's rosters at all times and see exactly what they're doing and what they're up to and what attacks they made and what defenses that they use. And so there's no fog of war. You know exactly what your opponent's tendencies are. This, I think it's very interesting, and that'll be an interesting choice that we're all going to have to decide when this becomes unveiled, whether we want to be visible or not. Well, let me ask you guys, just switch gears a little bit. Sure. What is it that you'd most like to do with MSF.gg that you're not yet able to do? That it's not technologically possible, or you don't have the time or resources, or something else?
Oh man, there's so much that could be done. I want to expand upon more of the meta pages. Those pages are used a lot by people. I really would like to spend a little bit more time in there managing those. I really would like to integrate some type of in-game to browser team management. I think that would be amazing because I'm sure Philosopher, making teams and games in the game itself is long, it's hard, it's frustrating.
Oh my God.
Sorting them up and down is
no doubt, man. Oh jeez.
So if we could do that on the web and push that data to the game, I think that would be killer. Of course, getting your roster, getting your gear, all that stuff would be great. Things like that.
Yeah, like gear management.
Alliance stuff that we could do though too. I mean, right now we have the player-facing recruitment. One of the things I really want to be able to do is have the alliance side of recruitment. Because I spent 14 hours this past weekend trying to recruit when I wanted to pull my hair out.
By the way, I hope everyone watching this gets a sense of why I wanted you to beat these guys, because they really are playing the game the way we did, or we do, because they literally have still, but they are us. And so I love the fact that you guys, because you do know exactly what I think we need for the website, msf.gg side and API, because you've done it yourself, all the BS of creating squads and recruiting players and all this.
Could you
crap.
imagine going to MSF.gg and inviting a person to join your alliance? They join in the web and in the game at the same time.
Oh yeah. Oh, and now I mean it's actually you literally are waiting for rewards to come in for a season. At least that's how my alliance. You're like, okay, did we get our rewards yet? Then you kick the old person.
Yep.
Then you have this open spot and a bunch of randos try to join, and you got to get rid of keep that spot open so you can get the new guy in. And what a pain in the butt. And it would be nice to just automate a lot of that stuff, make it easier. Similarly, you guys created a planner for DD5. On your website, but it wasn't, there was still a lot. It wasn't just pulling all the data in real time and letting me know exactly where I was in terms of gear. Like if every time I got a piece of gear or opened an orb, I could see exactly where I was closer. Well, that would save us all a lot of time and effort, right? Spreadsheets It would put the spreadsheet guy, making guys out of, I would say, out of business. They're not charging, but you know what I mean? It would save us all a lot of time that we spend entering in Google Sheets.
The community will come up with other things, though.
For sure.
Absolutely.
That's what the API will even help with. Like, the community is going to come up with amazing things themselves as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I want to preface that too, to make sure that people understand that this isn't an API for MSF.gg. This is going to be a community level API. Everyone is going to have access to this that wants it and wants to be able to utilize it.
That's really cool. And I'm glad you're making that clear, Toxie, because there's all sorts of tools that we could create that could pull data from the game and do cool stuff. Lots of different bots. And you know, I've seen that in another game and all the bots and different things that are created there. This could be just revolutionary for the game. And so very, very exciting. That's why I wanted to have you guys out here, because this is, I think, exciting stuff. So what do you have that you actually are able to do that you're working on that you're the most excited about?
We're working on the legendary page right now. If you want to talk about that, Toxie.
Yeah, we're in the process of finishing the design, which lets players actually see all of the legendary unlock information. Because again, that's not something which is available in game, and it's one of the most commonly asked questions. What exactly do I need for each tier of the person's unlock chain? You get to find out all of that information directly on the site now. And if you actually have your roster imported into the site, it's going to give you very, very specific details.
Well, that's great. Yeah, one thing that new players, there's really no information about that in the game at all right now. So a new player starts and they're like, okay, I want to get Black Bolt. Like, how do they even find out? You know, it's very confusing, I think, for new players.
Now, if we only could get when they were coming.
Yeah, no doubt. Okay, you guys are on the inside. Make it happen. Come on, guys.
I know, right?
For new players, so frustrating. They ask you, I get questions on my Discord it seems like every day, every week. When's the next Omega Red event? Like, how do I know? I mean, I don't know anything about that. So, yeah, it would be nice. And so please make our voices heard for the inside if you can.
For sure.
Well, speak. Yeah.
We do try to usually, in most cases, avoid manually implementing data, but I think the legendary unlock information and being able to track the cadence of when the one was last run is really, really important. So even if that's not something that we can get internally in display, I'm going to add it to the site to make sure that people have that information.
That's awesome, man. I got to just say, one thing that's cool for me is you guys have always been doing sort of selflessly creating a lot of stuff for the community. And it's cool. I just feel like you still have that mentality now, which is really an awesome thing for us to see. So I'm very grateful to you guys for that. And I'm excited that this has worked out in a way that helps you guys, but also I think is going to make things a lot better for our community.
I mean, we love this game, and furthermore, we love the community. We wouldn't have the jobs that we got without the community support. So thank you, guys.
That's awesome. Thank you guys from on behalf of the community. Thank you guys for all the work you've done. And I do want to ask you, you know, there are going to be people watching this who are like, hey, I'm a coder myself. I've got very specific feedback for you guys or things that I want to see for the API or other things. Is there a way for them to send that information to you?
Yeah, there's two different ways. You can head over to the MSF GG Discord server. We have, I'd say about 90-ish% of our requests come through there. But we also have some, not servers. I'm blanking on the name.
We have the channel. So
the channel's on the main MSF Discord. So
yeah, you can visit discord.gg/MSFGG to access the MSFGG Discord, or you can just visit discord.gg/Marvel Strike Force to visit the official Discord. And there are channels set up on both where you can make requests or provide feedback for both the site and the bot.
That's great. I'm going to put a link below to the MSF.GG Discord, and that should hopefully help you find it. But I just thank you guys for doing this interview. It was very exciting, great. I think a great thing for the community. So if you like the video, smash that like button, subscribe to the channel. If you got comments or questions, put them below. If you have something that you want to say, I'll try to pass some feedback along to these guys as well. You can go to my Discord, which is also listed below. My Twitch stream is as well. Thanks again, guys. Appreciate having you on and sharing a little bit of you guys with the community.
Well, thanks.
Oh, thank you, Philosopher. We appreciate being on the channel, and thank you for all you do for the community as well. I leverage your resources all the time.
Thanks, man. Appreciate that.